Okay, now I think I have a problem. Uh, I think the situation with these jelly legs that I've had the last 2 weeks and still continuing to push them have progressed now. And now I have what seems to be a couple of knots in my legs, my quads, outer quads. Interestingly enough, it resembles very much my hip pain of old. But instead of being in my right leg, now it's my left leg or my left hip. So now I think I have a bit of a more of understanding of what the hip pain was all along. I used to think it was adductor related, but now I'm kind of puzzled since the last session I've been thinking about it. I think this is all quad related. I'm not sure. I'm not exactly sure, but the TFL pain that I always used to have is very much, the pain is there right now, the left hip, which is unusual. Like I said, right hip is usually the troubled one. But now when I palpate a little lower, there seems to be a massive knot in my left upper quad, which kind of radiates the pain all the way to the left hip, which is that classic Ivan's left hip pain or right hip pain. So now it seems as though that hip pain all along was, I don't know if it's the same thing, but it seems like the symptoms feel exactly the same. It's quad related. So my quads are now pissed off. They're pissed off, and yesterday after the session, basically the moment I cooled down, I started feeling this left hip pain, like sitting there, the fam, in the backyard on the chair there, like the outside table. I was just like, man, this is really bothering me. Get up, walk around, like every 5 minutes, like this is now, spasming and throbbing pain. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, damn, okay, I've been down this road many, many times before. The latest iteration is that I use the adductor machine to take away the pressure of that hip into the adductor, and somehow I don't understand the mechanism, but when I fire up the adductors, the hip pain stops. So I jump on the adductor machine, and I've bought that loading pin recently, and I used it yesterday. Yesterday was a leg day, so I used it before I started squatting. Jump on the leg machine, put 2 extra 10s on top of the loading pin, and I'm repping it out. So that's 110 kilos. I'm repping it out. And midway through the first set, so I went up to the whole warm-up, 50 kilos, 70 kilos, 90 kilos. Go to 110. Midway through the set, bang. The freaking cable flies across my body and then onto the other side. Freaked the living shit out of me. My parents were in the backyard chilling with the wife and the kids and stuff. And they're like, what happened? What happened? They thought I freaking died or something. It was a loud bang. Turns out that the cable snapped from the machine. Clearly, it's not used to the added weight. And it's an old machine as well. The plates came crashing down from the top of the rep. And cable's gone. And so then I was like, shit. So by the time I kind of worked out what was the problem, where it snapped, I'm kind of looking at repairing in the next day or two. My dad's going to help me. He's pretty handy with this type of stuff. He can weld. He can do all that sort of stuff, like old school, man. So we're gonna do something with the machine, and we're gonna try and make it bulletproof, so I can freaking go up to 200 kilos if I need to. I'll get another loading pin. This is the hope. Hopefully the cable doesn't snap again. But the cable didn't snap midway. It snapped like where it inserts into the plates. And the way the mechanism works is that it pinches the cable. There's like a little screw that pinches the cable, which is a very poor mechanism. Pinching is not the strongest physical in terms of physics. So we're gonna hook the damn thing. So we're gonna lap the cable around, so make it much tougher. So hopefully, we can make this work. But now I don't have a cable machine to work and fix this hip pain. Went to bed yesterday, very freaking sore, man. I didn't have a good sleep, man. Rolling around in bed, the hips are freaking killing me, or the quads are killing me. And as a result, last night and today, I've been massaging, so now I've got a bruise on top of the freaking pain. Now my quads are bruised, and they also have the knot, which is radiating into my hip. So this leg jelliness that I've been feeling, it was probably a sign that they've overworked. In fact, 100% that's the case. And so people have been asking me, have you been changing things as you go along? Well, I'm auto-regulating all the time. When I have something like this happen, I know that I've upset some sort of balance. So I'm squatting way, way, way too much for the amount of hip work that I'm doing. Before this whole period, I did a lot of hip pain and not enough squatting. So the hips felt amazing. The story with me always is that if I really go too much squatting, the hip pain returns. And now it seems like the quad proximal tendinopathy, or maybe, I don't know. It's not even tendinopathy, it's like middle of the muscle. But also the tendinopathy, right? Like the TFL is the insertion point. So I need to work on my hips more. The machine's bust. Hopefully I can fix it the next few days. And so I'm going to try and work on that. This is not going to go away. Rest, this does not fix this. For people that are wondering, why just take a couple of weeks off, I have taken months off of heavy squatting in the past. And the moment I go back to heavy weight, the hip pain is there. This will not go away with rest. I've been doing this for 6 years. The story of the 6 years has been, how does Ivan deal with his hip pain? I've had rest. I've had periods where I've just done bench and minimum squatting, like 1 plate squatting type thing for 30 reps because that's all I could take. This doesn't go away. So the hip needs to be trained in order for that tension to leave the hip, even though it's not the freaking hip now. It seems like it's the quad. The reason why the quad, I think, gets upset is because there's an imbalance, and maybe the adductors are not getting the same amount of volume in training as the other structures like the quads. So there's an imbalance, there's an unequal pull in the lower body, and then you have inflammation occur and then pain and whatever. So I need to work on my hips more. Now this process can be quite hard. Now that I'm back in the hip pain era, I need to attack the hip pain hard. Now attacking the hip pain hard will likely make me weaker at squatting. So maybe the PR period is finished. I'm not sure. Depends when I fix the cable machine. Is when I'm gonna start working on it. So the recovery period is not going to be the same leading up to the squat PR on Sunday or Saturday. It's already Tuesday. So, if I continue like this, I'm going to be in pain and I won't be able to squat. No way, nowhere even 200. I'm quite uncomfortable at the moment. So I need to work something out. Massage itself doesn't really do anything. It's kind of like resting. It feels great, but it doesn't really have lasting effects. It's kind of like stretching. I've done stretching in the past. I've done resting in the past. I've done massage in the past. It all feels great, but then like 10 minutes later, the shit just goes back to the resting position, which is the tight position. So you don't really get anywhere. So you need to turn off the nervous system to that area to chill. And the only way it will do that is if you work out the opposite side of that joint. Sometimes it's not even the bloody opposite. It's something related to that structure. Now, hamstrings, adductors, glutes are kind of the big three things that you can look at. I've looked at everything over the years, and it seems to be the adductors have the most return for my efforts. Stretching doesn't work, like I said. Massage feels fantastic and it feels orgasmic at certain points. 10 minutes later, you're in the same freaking shit pile that you were at 10 minutes ago. So hopefully the adductor machine, I can get it back on board. And basically the message here is I need to up my hip work a lot. And maybe then I can start to feel a little bit better again and go from there. But this is an all too familiar situation for me. I've been here many a time. Like I said, the whole journey has been plagued with this. The only reason I had this huge stretch of really good squatting is because, for those of you that have followed closely, I've done like 2 months of nothing but hip work for my lower body leading up to this. So I had a lot of, I had a lot of hip work in reserve, right? I built up a lot of hip work in reserve, and now I've kind of run out of that, I think. And now I need to start jumping on. And so a second hip focus day in the week is absolutely a must now. I'm going to try and do that as soon as the machine gets fixed. I mean, I've got the other machine as well. So I'll, and leading up to this period, once again, it wasn't just adductors. I also worked the abductors, which is the outside of the hip. So I've done all of that. And like I said, the thing with that is that you fatigue your hips, right? You're training them. And that fatigue is probably not going to translate well to, 1 RM or PR setting. So let's see. I mean, I've had a really, really good run. I'm not upset at all. This is just a working diagnosis. It's a working thing. Like I always said to somebody just this morning that I was on the comments, they were like, have you worked it out? I'm like, dude, I haven't worked anything out. It's a moving target. Constantly, it's a moving target. The body tells you symptoms. You listen to those symptoms. If you ignore them, you're foolish. You listen to those symptoms, and then you hopefully have the tools in the shed to deal with them. Sometimes you misdiagnose it, like I have many times in the past. Then you cop a few months of time wastage and no progress. And the process repeats until you find something that is the right tool for the job. And that's kind of where I'm at right now. I'm not angry at all. Like, I've been past anger many a time because this is a very old, reoccurring problem with me. When I push squats, and I have bloody pushed them, we can all agree on that, the hips get pissed off. And the hips clearly now, to me, seems like it's just quads. The outer quad gets freaking mentally tight, and that translates into the hip, and the hip gets pissed off. My anterior pelvic tilt gets even bloody worse. And then it's this downward spiral of these compensation mechanisms that happen in the body as a result of something, the first domino that fell bloody probably 3-4 weeks ago. 3-4 weeks ago, I started feeling jelly legs, I started telling you guys 2 weeks ago, but I started feeling jelly legs about 3 weeks ago. And I was like, I'm not recovering, and so now that jelly legs has progressed and now I've got pain. The body's telling me, you got to chill, bro. Like, you've had enough. Chill. And so deload period is here. I'm not going to just say, boom, deload period, I'm not doing anything anymore. I'm going to try. I'm going to still try to do something on Saturday, depending on how it feels. If on Saturday I rock up and I've still got pain, you know the answer. I'm just going to spend that Saturday PR day, spend it on hip work. But regardless, this is what happens. I didn't see it coming yesterday. And yesterday was a terrible workout. I was dying. I was really, really struggling. I didn't have hip pain, but then the moment I cooled down, I was like, oh shit, I've been down this road before. Started massaging, and I've got a fat bruise on the left thigh. I've had my girl stand on top of it. I've been massaging it. I've been slapping it. I'm doing that whole slapping thing I recently discovered about, like slapping your muscles kind of brings circulation to it. It's kind of like a massage. It's like a percussion massage, I think it's called. I've done it all, and now I've got soreness and a knot and hip pain. So I'm not in good stead. Today was terrible. The squats felt terrible. Anyway, I've got a fella I want to shout out, a fella by the name of Boško Stanković. With that kind of name, he comes from the same area of the world that I come, for sure. Boško, hvala ti puno za podršku, za support. Puno mi znači i nadam se da ove videe što ja pravim ti pomažu. I ako imaš neka pitanja na Patreonu, kad god hoćeš možeš poslati poruku, ja ću ti prvo tu ću vidjeti da ti vratim poruku, puno ti hvala. In English, just thanking Boško for everything, for the support, and like I always do, for the people on Patreon, that's the communication that I use mostly with the supporters that are, going an extra mile for me. So I said to him, if you have any questions, anything you want to say to me, you require a reply from me, that's the place to do it. And I'll always look at my phone, even when I'm at work. Patreon's always the first thing that I look at. But appreciate everyone, and hopefully tomorrow is going to be a better day. But I think I've got a little bit of a different chapter happening in the next few weeks, trying to deal with this. But let's see. You never know. Maybe the body's pissed off extra today. Maybe tomorrow's going to be fine. I doubt it. But we'll go from here. Appreciate you guys like always, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace out.